All right, so there is that.
Hey, Jerry, can you make sure Barb lets everyone in the room? Okay, cool, thank you.
Is this view okay?
Good.
You good? All right. Hello, everyone. That.
Hey, Jerry,
Oh, that's
can you
me.
make sure Barb lets everyone in the room?
Hang on a second here.
Okay, cool, thank you.
Is this view okay? Okay, test, 1, 2, 3. Hey, Steve, front and center. I like it. Did you bring your signs?
Great. Great.
I know everyone's so far away. I don't bite.
We don't know if we can trust the East Siders.
I know. The
Hey.
east side invaded the west side today.
So I was gonna just make sure they can hear us online, okay? And if they can't, they should have showed up in person, right?
Right.
Okay, cool. We're gonna get started. First off, thank you for being here. Your energy that you bring to this room is contagious and it's important, and we love seeing your smiling faces. So today's gonna be a real treat. You and I really don't know each other.
Yeah.
So I called Shelly out of the blue and I said, hey, your team is the third highest producing female-led team in the region.
Nice.
Which, if you don't know our region, if you're new to Keller Williams or new to our office, so we're a 6-state region: North Dakota, South Dakota, Wyoming, Montana, Minnesota, and Wisconsin. So she's kind of a big deal. So the spirit of today is for every one of us in this room to think bigger. So I wore my Think Bigger shirt. If you guys are in Otsego watching, you all can probably agree we need to think bigger. And so we do these every month to help you with your mindset. And I want every one of you to walk away with at least one action item that you're going to take away and implement by the end of the day or by the end of tomorrow. Can we all agree on that?
Sure.
Yes.
Okay, good. So we're going to go to 2 o'clock. This is a very informal environment. If you've been to these before, I have a set list of questions. I'm willing to bet we get through maybe half of these because you guys are going to ask great questions.
Sure.
Perfect.
Because we said that she was the third highest producing, I want to know who the first 2 are.
Yeah.
That's a good question, because I want to know that too. Who's my competition?
That is a good question.
So, I expect you to know, Barry.
I actually, I don't know.
Must
And
have it on the
actually,
list or something.
yeah, so if you go on my KW under my reports, under your picture, click on that. And then there's a section that says team and group rankings. You can sort them by region and you can do individual or team. And what I actually found out, so you're the highest producing female-led team in the Twin Cities because the other 2 were elsewhere. I think one was in Milwaukee and I think the other one was like Sioux Falls or something. So I'm not sure, and I'll find out. If anybody wants our report, come see me because I do have the PDF. Okay, so I'm gonna talk as little as possible so she can talk as much as possible. I'm just gonna ask questions. So to start off, tell us about you, where you're from, how you got started in real estate, and why you joined KW, and how long you've been with us.
Awesome. So I'm Shelly Holz, and I've been with Keller Williams 17 of my 18 years of selling real estate. I started with Edina Realty for 1 year and transitioned to Keller Williams. I am the CEO of the Holz Group. I'm not just executing the business, but I'm the chief energy officer of our group. You know, Perry said something really important that I heard is high energy, and energy feeds off of energy. And that is one of my core responsibilities on our team. Whether you're on your own or working in a team environment, your energy transforms everything else. So I am a wife, a mother of 2 girls, 13 and 10. So I'm entering a whole new phase of parenting. And I think that covers it. Did I miss anything?
What'd you do prior to real estate?
Yeah, so I was in marketing. Prior to entering into real estate, I was a promotion marketing planner at General Mills, and our group was in charge of coming up with all the toys inside the cereal boxes. And so I marketed for brands like Nickelodeon with our partners, different movies. So partnering with what's the coolest toy, what's the coolest movie, and really big brands. But it didn't make my heart sing. And I learned, gosh, you know, you said exactly, it's a dream marketing job. Why don't I feel fulfilled? And I wanted to make a bigger impact in people's lives. And I'm really, really driven. And I work a lot because I love it. And if I'm working a lot and putting impact into things, I want to make sure that I get compensated for what I put in. And working in corporate America, someone else decides your career path and what your potential is going to be. And that just didn't resonate with my soul. So I did a lot of research on what resonates with making a big impact in people's lives and where you can own your own business and where you didn't have to go back to school to get a second degree. And real estate is what popped. And I gave notice and started full-time, dove in head first, saved some money up, being that I had no other income. I was married at the time, so my husband was working, but we saved enough to be what they tell you when you're brand new is 6 months, don't plan to make any money. So did that and dove into it 100% full-time.
Nice. Did you have a favorite toy? I don't know if anyone thought of that. Like in the marketing section.
I didn't. Gosh, back then it was a lot of like Asian cartoons and Yu-Gi-Oh was the toy, and like back in like 2002. So
That's funny.
yeah, but it was a really, really fun marketing job. I learned a ton about just presenting to people, a lot about negotiations, really selling and influencing, because I had to influence the brand managers that our marketing idea was going to sell more cereal for them. But the brand manager decided whether or not our pitch was what they wanted to implement. So
Nice.
Yeah.
So I'm going to ask you about your start in the beginning, but just in case you missed the flyer, so 2020 we did 48 million, 130 units, 1.4 million in gross commission. Not too bad.
in the middle of a pandemic and a complete pivot.
Nice.
Yeah, it was a crazy, wild year. We lost our director of operations. She passed away in June unexpectedly from cancer. She didn't even know she had cancer. So for our team, that's kind of a special thing just to know, because we were really mourning the loss of a key team member in the middle of all that as well.
Wow. Wow. So I feel like we could talk about that for hours, but not to bring it on in the room. So
Yeah.
when you started 18 years ago, we dived in full time. What did you do? How did you build your business? What do you wish you knew in the beginning that you learned later? Like walk us, because we have people in the room who are brand new,
Yep.
and then we have people who've been in the business, twice as long as you and I. So
Well, I started with all the free stuff. So open houses were big. I know right now people maybe are just easing back into that. But I started with an open house or two every single weekend. What I did is I advertised myself to the other key big agents in the office, and I just marketed to them, and I made it really easy to select me as the agent to hold their open. And so I just created a system around it that as soon as I was driving away, I'd call the number off of the sign and give them feedback. So I always got first pick. I created a system on picking the opens before any other agent could select an open. So my opens were selected on a Monday. So I always got the best opens. I didn't wait till a Thursday or Friday to book those. And then Sphere, I was coming out of corporate. So I had a lot of corporate relationships. So I just booked one lunch a week. I just created a system around that. Keller Williams is really big around building systems. And so I just held myself accountable that, okay, Monday's select open day, Tuesday is schedule a lunch day. And then I would just work that every single week. And business just naturally grew, but I started with the free stuff and built a system around it. So every morning I didn't have to guess, what should I do? Because when you're starting, it can feel so overwhelming. There's so much you can do. Just pick one or two things and just create theme days. And that's how you do that day. And connect with people, and it just will naturally compound. I got to a point where working with buyers and sellers was stretching me too thin. And so I really wanted to shift to a listing-based business. So we do the easy free stuff, did expireds, and explored and dabbled a little bit with for sale by owners, but expireds were more my jam. So created a whole plan around expireds and an 8x8, and then gradually transitioned. And that's when I hired my first MAPS coach, because doing expireds brand new when you've never done them, and I was maybe 2 years in the business at this time, they can feel really intimidating. They feel really harsh, right? And so I knew I wanted to shift my business listing based, but I didn't have a clue how to do it. So that was when I hired my first MAPS coach, and they just kept me on it. And that's when I really embraced scripting, because working with a sphere and open house lead makes it feel more intuitive, and you can build a relationship. Working expireds, you really have to be scripted, because they know their scripts well. They've gotten to role play and practice maybe 10 times before your phone call comes through. And so I learned very quickly the importance of scripts. And then that's really what pivoted my business to be a listing-based business. And it just compounded from there. And obviously that caused me to have to hire my first assistant. Not have to, but I chose to. Because when you have listings, there's a lot of leverage at play that you need involvement and help. And if you're the agent out there trying to do more production, just that leads listings leverage triangle is so, I think, underestimated in our business. Like, that's what it's all about. Lead generate for listing leads, and you'll earn the right to gain leverage. And it's rinse and repeat, just rinse and repeat, and it just builds on itself. But it's really simple. I think we tend to complicate it.
Questions, comments, thoughts?
What else? Are you ready? Woodbury. Oh, Woodbury. Yep.
So we're gonna say this later, but if you don't want to do business on the east side, call her. Are you in Wisconsin too?
Yep, licensed in Wisconsin. So we do Western Wisconsin and just pretty much a ton in Washington County, but been doing this for 18 years and being in Golden Valley in corporate America, like we have a lot of sphere contacts as well. So every now and then we're on the west side, but majority of our business is on the east side.
Nice. Go ahead.
At what point in your business did you make this shift to focus on expired, hire a max coach, and then
Yeah, the leverage. Yeah. Can they hear the question, or should I repeat the question?
Go ahead and repeat
Okay.
it, just in case.
So the question was,
It
at
should
what
have shown up
point
for you guys in case
did,
you can't.
at what point did I make this shift to be listing based, and expireds was my main lead source, and hire the map coach? And that was right around 2.5 years into the business.
Do you recall how much you were doing then? I mean, obviously the price point was different back
I
in
was probably
05.
doing 25 deals a year. Maybe I hired a part-time assistant prior to that, but then 06 happened. And it was right when, so I had to let her go, because I was like, I don't know what's going on, but the phone's not ringing. And I just had this great idea to shift to a listing-based business. I don't have a clue what I'm doing. And now I have a MAPS coach bill, and I found out I was pregnant with my first child. And so I actually chose to cut my contract with MAPS because of money at that time, of where I was at. He understood, but I didn't go coachless. I actually teamed up with my team leader, and my team leader coached me, because I needed to manage my budget differently. So, and then I still hired contract help. It was just like another agent in the office that was just looking for someone to split an administrative assistant, and we might have even split this person 3 ways. But I just squeaked as much leverage as I could afford, and then free coaching with my team leader. So even though I cut it, I really shifted it. And that's what got me through the recession and that whole journey, which was beautiful for expireds, because during the recession, homes were sitting on the market and not selling. So it was actually like serendipitous that happened, because now all of a sudden I have experienced agents who are seeing the market of the moment be foreclosures and short sales, and they're ditching traditional sales. And I'm entrenched in expireds. And I just felt like, well, God, foreclosures and short sales don't make my heart sing. I went into this to make an impact. That's not vibing with me. I'm going to stick with expireds and traditional sellers. And I was literally one of the only agents that didn't chase for closures and short sales. So that meant I got a lot of the expireds, which meant I got very well scripted because I got a lot of practice.
So one of the lessons I wrote down there that some of you may need to do is don't be afraid to hire a little leverage right now, because many of you are probably doing the things that are $16 an hour and it's holding you back from doing the $250 an hour work. Whether it's transaction coordinator, the marketing team in the office, whatever.
And how I knew that is, you know, I do something and I get results. I do something and I get results. And then I'd be like, well, what's next? I'm like, well, I don't know how to do that. I'm tapped out. I'm burnt out. And the moment that you're like, the question is how do I do it? I'm tapped out, I'm burnt out, is the moment your how question needs to turn into a who question. Even if it's just leveraging a brand new agent that, you know, they would be so honored to just help you to learn, right? Like you say, well, I can't do that. I'm new. Well, you still might have more experience than them. You might be in it 6 months. They're week 1. And so just don't underestimate the gift of asking someone if they want to help you, because you get to win from it and they get to win from it.
Yes, Brianna.
So do you know today what, 2 questions?
Yeah.
First, I guess. What do you do to lead generate today? And do you know, like, percentage of your business, how much comes from fear, like where most of it comes from?
Yeah. So kind of where our business is today has really transitioned. And I would say it's transitioned even in the last 2 years. So we were still, expireds was a number 2 lead source for us up until this year. Sphere past clients were number 1, but for a long time, it was only like 20% of our business. Then expireds was like 15, and then it was a bunch of just miscellaneous things. Open houses might have been right up there as well. And because of the market conditions, expireds have really quieted down. So it's not our lead source of business right now, but it's still a system we're still working. So there's still homes that are overpriced and sitting and expiring. And so we're still working that system, but we actually, in a course of 3 years, jumped from our past clients and Sphere to go from 30% to 48% to now 65%. And that is 100% due to one of my operations gals, who is now our marketing manager, is she kept at me about doing client events. And I would just say, yeah, other teams do it. And it just, everyone's got a strength. And my strength is systems. I'm not a networker. And so it just didn't tap into me right away. It just made a little bit of a pit in my stomach, being I don't like to be the life of the party. And now all of a sudden we're going to have a client event where I'm the agent, and it just made me want to run in the other direction. But she kept at me. And this is the thing, when you hire good talent, they don't let good ideas go. And she just kept at me. And we finally got to a point where I was, again, asking the eternal question of what's next? How do we grow it to the next level? She said, Shelly, I'm telling you, client events. And I'm like, oh my gosh, you're right. That's the only way forward. And that brought us to about 40 to 50% of our business, where it used to be 25. And then we couldn't do client events because of the pandemic. We snuck one in February, but we canceled our boat cruise, which is a really, it's a great time to talk one-on-one. But what we did is we pivoted and we shifted into social media and embracing command Facebook ads. And without any client events or cut, like 50% of the client events are repeat referral and Sphere business jumped to 65. And we're like, well, that's social media. We're in front of their face in a time where social media is the only way to connect, and we're doing it daily. And they felt in relationship with us, even though we weren't face to face. And it really transformed our business. We believe, we haven't surveyed the clients as to why did you call us back? But that's the only thing that changed. That brought us from 50% to 65 this year was embracing social media and command Facebook ads.
So what, because I know someone's gonna ask, walk us through what the client events looks like, and are you getting back to it now?
So in February, we do a movie event because our boat cruise in July is adult only. So we try to do like a kid, family-friendly movie in July where we rent out a movie theater and give them complimentary popcorn and soda. And it's limited, you know, because you can only have so many seats. And we do a really fun highlights reel before the movie plays, like fun facts about our team, bloopers from videos that we've done. So our marketing gal did just a great job making that engaging. So we're still branding at them while they're waiting for the movie to start. You know, we greet the whole crowd and then the movie begins. And then we give them a little fun movie themed gift for the kiddos as they walk out. Then our boat cruise is on the St. Croix River paddle boat, live music, Italian dinner, 2 tickets, and we just cruise the river. And it's like being the bride and groom at a wedding reception where you have to go from table to table to table. And that's what it's like. What we've learned as a team, the team has to eat first because we don't have time to eat. We're constantly talking. But see you improve. You learn what works for you, what doesn't work for you. And so that's happening this July, and we're really excited to pick that back up. We canceled that last year because of the pandemic. And then we do a pie giveaway in November. We did do that last year, but we did it outside. We were freezing. Of course, it was a super cold, misty, rainy day. But we did the, we just leveraged what the restaurants were doing, which is, you know, takeout. And they just drive up. So we were just all standing out there. They wouldn't have to get out of their car, and we just delivered the pie to their window of their door. And so it still allowed us to engage and leverage that because it worked. We saw restaurants doing that. We just modeled what the restaurants were doing. So it all starts with, we do a mailed invitation. We send a postcard, or the boat cruise is a formal invitation. We do an email around it, and then a calling campaign around it to get them to RSVP or pick their pie flavor. So, and then we do a thank you message after. So making sure it's not just the event, but a whole marketing system around it as well.
Nice.
But it took me years to get there because that's not my strength zone. I had to leverage my weakness in order to grow.
Love that.
Mhm.
Let's dive into the market of the moment. How are you guys winning?
Well, we've had to really pivot to find listings because expireds weren't flowing in. We were very grateful with a lot of referral business from what we just talked about. And we embraced the golden letter. My MAPS coach told me about the golden letter, and my first reaction to it was in my head an eye roll. Like, really, someone's going to call in off of that? And he's just like, I swear by it, don't change a thing, just swap out your logo and mail it. And he's like, just do it. And when you get, you know, when you start building a business, you, for me at least, you can get stuck in your head because you're trying to build the system and you make it systematized, but you can really complicate things in your head. And so I was like, how is this gonna double my business per week or month? And it's this simple, right? So my initial reaction was a limited belief of that's not going to work. And
So what is it if I don't know what that is?
Yeah. So what it is it's just like a 2-sentence letter that says, go ahead.
I can actually show everybody if you want, because one of my clients got one of yours.
Oh yeah, you can share it. Definitely share it with the group.
No, it's really cute and simple. I mean,
It's just
so
simple. And it's just like John and Jill Smith, you know, was just curious if you would entertain selling your home at 123 Main Street. I have a buyer who's interested in buying. Please let me know. That's it.
Yeah.
And it's, the key thing is though, it names their name, not dear homeowner. It names their address, which means you have to mail merge a mail list with the Word document. Key ingredient, leverage, find someone to do that. And you have to hand address the envelopes. And we tested that. We thought, we tried on one route outsourcing it to a handwritten company and fumbled that. People knew is, even if you think it's as close to genuine handwriting as possible, nope, they can tell. We also, that handwriting company said they would mail it for us. And we thought at first glance, awesome, leverage, they'll mail it for us. We underestimated the impact that having a PO box out of state would have. Because when they stamp it, you can see where it's being mailed from. And so we got some people calling in, like, you really have a buyer, you're mailing it from another state. So that didn't quite work. And so,
Here we go.
awesome, yep, here we go. So that's the letter, super simple. And I ripped off and duplicated it from my maps coach, who ripped off and duplicated it from another person. And that's just part of being part of Keller Williams and the sharing culture, right? And why I'm still here after 18, 17 years with this company is just keep it simple and share and collaborate. But I was shocked. I was not anticipating that.
And who did we send it to? Sorry. Here.
Well, we did a variety of things. We would send it to our farm. We would send it to certain zip codes that we were looking for buyers who were buying, this is a hard market to find properties for your buyers. So it's a great way to find off-market opportunities for your buyers where they're not going to be competing in multiple offers. And also show to your buyer that you're doing something besides just waiting for someone else's listing to hit the MLS. Like, show them you really care and that you're willing to think outside of the box. You will get listing leads from this. It will pay for itself.
So when somebody calls you from this,
Mhm.
and you do have the buyer. So let's take the deal and just do the one-time showing.
Yeah, so what we do is we send our listing agent out to actually do a full market analysis on the property. Say, we do have a buyer who's interested, and we first need to find out what your home is worth, right? And so we go out and do that whole presentation. And because of fiduciary responsibility, our listing agent is talking about their options. You have an option to go on the market, and here are the pros and cons to that. You also have the option to sell it off market, and here are the pros and cons to that option. Which one would you prefer and choose? And either way, you're going to win. You're either going to win a listing to go on the market, or you're going to win a listing for your buyer and facilitate an off market. But even if they want to go on the market, it's still an opportunity that your buyer knows about before any other buyer knows about it. They can be the first showing in, and you're just going to give them that competitive advantage that your buyers are really depending that you give in this market. So there's so many things that came from that we didn't expect. I was shocked.
Karen, then Pam.
Did you share your specific?
Yeah. About the letter, that who the heck would respond to that?
Oh.
Like, I wouldn't call. So if I wouldn't call, certainly the public's not going to call, right? And what's fascinating is the people who call are like, this is so funny. My husband and I were just having this conversation at dinner the other day. It's funny that you should get this letter. Sometimes we get skeptics where they maybe are a year out from retiring, and they're like, do you really have a buyer? Yeah. It is a scripting. You really have to script it well. We have ISAs on our team, so I role play with them one-on-one, and we really do have to role play how to maneuver that conversation because they are skeptical at first. And so you really have to ditch the letter as quick as possible, just like with an expired. You're calling an expired, they're going to say the same thing. Well, do you have a buyer for my home? It's not about our buyer. It's about what's their motivation. Why are you even thinking about looking to make a move? What would be your ideal time frame? What's important to you about that? So there's a finesse and an art to that, but it's the same as an expired script, right? You got to get them to stop talking about your buyer and what's their motivation. Because whether you have a buyer that's ready to buy that house today or in a month, it's all about that homeowner and why do they want to move and how can we help them? Because if we don't have that, we can't serve them. So it's just a role play practice, find a scripting partner and pick scripting partners that aren't going to make it easy on you, right? Like The moment you're just talking about your weekend is the moment you should find another scripting partner. Because for that 15, 20 minutes, you're there to get better. You're there to learn a new script maybe you don't know, or the market conditions have changed. So now you got to figure out how do you talk to the buyer's fears right now? You want your partner to make it tough, because if they make it tough in role play, you can handle it with anyone out in the public. But it did challenge us. We had to learn how to pivot out of the skeptics.
Pam,
Did you send the same letter to your sphere and?
Yeah, so I will, full disclosure, my MAPS coach has challenged us to do the golden text, which is basically the same messaging. I keep pointing, but it's not behind me. The golden text to your sphere, and he highly recommends you do not do it your entire database in one day, because you will be slammed. So you maybe chunks of 50 or 100 at a time, and you just say, hi, this is Shelly, hope you're well. Was just curious if you would entertain selling your home to one of my buyers. Let me know. And some team out in the nation took the golden letter, transformed it into a golden text, and the engagement they're having with their sphere is at such a high level that I haven't done it yet, but we should be doing it. No excuses. We should be doing it.
who's your MAPS coach?
Craig Zuber.
Oh, nice.
Mhm.
So Craig is the MAPS coach of Pete and Joel, who we had last month. So if you need a MAPS coach, call Craig. So by when are you going to do the text?
Thank you for being an accountability partner. I know.
We are recording.
We are recording for everyone. How about the end of July? Because I am going on vacation to celebrate my 20-year wedding anniversary next week.
Cool.
So
We'll follow up
You
to
gotta-
ensure that it
you
gets.
got to counterbalance. So we'll do it in July.
So in other words,
Someone hold me to it.
you not have a buy.
Sometimes we do, sometimes we don't. Sometimes it's strategic for listings because we farm the area. And what we learned, so Craig Zuber, our MAPS coach, recommends this to all of his teams. And so we had the honor of being on a Golden Letter Mastermind Zoom with teams across the nation a couple months ago. And this team talked about how they actually target high turnover zip codes, and they look to see which zip codes have the highest turnover rate, because they'll get better responses. So that's more of a business strategy to do your part to bring inventory to this market, right? So that's our approach. Is as professionals, we have to bring inventory and options to buyers. If we don't, the market will lock up. So we have to do our part to talk to as many people as possible, bring inventory, bring choices and options, and everyone's going to win from that. And that seller is going to win from having a proactive, highly fiduciary agent in front of them versus another agent that doesn't care at that high level. We also do it for our buyers who, what's on the market isn't meeting their needs, and we're just trying to make a match. So either way, you are serving your industry. It's just a mindset.
Do we know how to find high turnover zip codes just in general? Is that something simple to figure out?
Yeah, so I was told title companies have that access. We called our title company last week, and our title company doesn't subscribe to that data. So it sounds like it's a subscription-based data. And so I just told my marketing manager, we can do this. We don't need a title company. It's simple. How many homeowners per zip code? Then go to the MLS, see how many sales, and sit in any Keller Williams class about farming, and they say you want to target a 5 to 6% turnover rate to know that that's a good area to farm. So that's what they had shared in that Golden Letter Mastermind Zoom, was that team. That's what they did. We started with using the Remind in MLS and just who are the high sales scores for the areas that our buyers are shopping in. Because if artificial intelligence says that they're most likely to sell, our buyer wants to buy in this zone, let's try to make a match. And it allowed us to at least feel better that we were being smart with our marketing dollars. But now we're starting to test the high turnover rates of codes just to see how it turns out.
Nice.
Yeah, no worries. Go ahead.
And I might have missed it, but how many people did you say are on?
So we have a team of 10. So I have a listing agent and 2 buyers agents. We have what I said in the flyer, 1+ ISA because we are short staffed. We need another ISA. We should be at 3 and we're at 1 right now. And a marketing manager, a listing manager, and then a closing manager / transaction coordinator. And my husband's also on the team, but he does a lot of investment properties. So his focus is more on property management, investments. And then we have a virtual assistant that supports our listing manager, a virtual assistant that supports our marketing manager, and a part-time runner. And the one thing that I find really important is when someone asks you the makeup of the team, so many teams set up in these panels and they don't name the virtuals. Virtuals do a lot. And so if they're only naming who are the full-time employees, I feel like it's not telling the whole story. So I wanted, because I would sit in the audience just like you and say, how are they doing it with that small a team, knowing where I was at? And I was looking to get to the next level. And I'm like, it doesn't seem right. The math isn't making sense in my head. And 6 months later, I'd find out that they had 4 or 5 virtual assistants. That's why the numbers are what they are.
Do you
So
use Cyberbacker or which company?
it's a separate contract company. I don't recall who we go through for the virtual assistant. My operations manager hired that out.
Nice.
And then our social media is just a contract social media company. And so we contract them out to do all of our social media because my marketing manager was just losing time coming up with all the creative posts. It's just tasky work. And but again, another awesome idea for a brand new agent, you know, to give them opportunity to think through messaging and ideas, and they'll help you and you'll help them. So great partnership idea.
Oh, go ahead, Beth.
Yeah, what was your key reason for building a team as opposed to keeping it?
Yeah, so that has transformed over the years, I will say. I was adamantly opposed to teams until 2017, which was not that long ago. So I embraced the leverage concept right away when I shifted to a listing-based business. But that's all that it was going to be. And I found an agent to work buyers because my eye is really low. And so buyers, I would be like flat on my back on the couch Sunday night. And I was like, this is no way to live. Like I just, that's not my strength zone. Expireds, like going and pursuing, I'm more of a hunter role there. So I had to leverage that. I didn't always hire right throughout the process, but I've always had a buying partner because I was really in tune and aware of where my weaknesses were and making sure that I was building my business based on who I was and not how someone else said I should. Now, hindsight, I probably should have had a showing assistant, but the showing assistant model didn't exist back then. So I would have done that different now, but regardless, I had buyer leverage to compensate for where my strengths were.
And how did you choose that person?
Well, the first partnership was they just wanted to join a team. So I didn't vet them out at all, which I learned. I failed forward and learned that you have to have common values on who you partner with. So got to redo that and found a buying partner who's still with me today, Ryan Gunvalson. And we both very, very, very much care about a first-class client experience. We care about excellence. We care about doing things the right way. And so it was just a natural fit. And we had a full-time operations person who is now my marketing manager. And it was just going to be us. It was just going to be the Shelly, Ryan, Heather rodeo. Until I had MAPS coaches telling me, you need to hire, you need to hire, you need to hire. And I was adamantly like, no. Gonna keep it simple, gonna keep it small.
And was that because you were working too much?
No, it was because I had a limiting belief that I couldn't trust other people with my income. And so I actually had a MAPS coach fire me, and it was the greatest thing that she did. we were at the end of the year and I told her, so it was Jeannie Osnes. So if you've ever watched anything at an international level,
She's
she does a ton of stuff on like the P&L and profit. There's a lot of classes she teaches and like masterminding. And so I said, Jeannie, I think I'm good. I think I don't need to do this coaching weekly. I think I can go to every other week. And meanwhile, she obviously knows my blind spots. knows where I'm stuck. I clearly didn't. And she said, you know what? I don't think I can help you anymore. And she said, I think you need a transformational coach. And so I didn't know what I was signing up for. I just said, sure, okay. So I went into transformational coaching, and Linda Lyons was my transformational coach for 8 months. And she totally unraveled that limiting belief in what was driving it from my childhood, and how what worked for me as a survival skill early on was not serving me as a business owner or a business builder. And so she worked her magic, and I think of her daily. Without her, my team wouldn't be here. And then I said, okay, I think I'm ready. Like, I'm kind of curious about this team thing, and went back to productivity coaching, and they assigned me to Craig Zuber. And he is a true business partner. He's side by side with me every week, pushing me into my discomfort and out of my comfort zone, and coached me all the way through how to build up the team, how to hire right, and how to remove myself from productions, so that way I could just create more opportunity for my team. So this was not my vision. It has evolved.
It's your job.
So talking about subject of coaching.
Yeah.
The first catch code you received.
Yeah.
How did that change during the crash?
Yeah, so
How
then I
did
went
that
to the
change?
team leader.
Sorry?
So I shifted from a maps coach to my team leader when everyone had to scale back on their budgets in the recession.
And did your production go up? Did it stay the same? What?
Yeah, it creeped up because I went listing based, and I had already committed to expired. So I had some momentum there as far as my mindset and my commitment, and the market conditions just put an engine behind it. Right. But same thing here, market conditions have changed. Expireds were such a small part of our business. We just say, hey, we got to change and change up where we're going to get business from. So you just got to pivot with the market.
I may have answered this, but what is your journey then as far as managing expense as you?
Yeah. So I like to sleep at night. So, and I try not to think of all the families I'm responsible for, because that would keep me up. So I really, I pad my budget. I taught myself many years ago to live on last year's commission. So the commission I'm earning this year will go to 2022 expenses. Because the one thing of being a new agent during the crash, it almost scars you, like monetarily wise. And because you don't, all of a sudden the phone stops ringing and you don't know why. And you were on this mission to build businesses and make financial commitments. And so it caused me to be really conservative, to the point where my husband and my financial planner and my coach would say I'm too conservative with money. I need to invest more. So that is a weakness of mine, but it's because of what I went through, that I like to have a moat around what I need. So it's off a year, and then I start the year every year with 6 months of expenses in the account, which I was super grateful for when the pandemic hit, because that was crucial.
Business expenses.
Business expenses, 100% of the business expenses divided in half needs to be in the account before I take any money out.
And then do you monitor like profitability as a goal?
Yeah, so I have a bookkeeper, and she is really trained on the MREA. So she's formatted the P&L based on the percentages that everything should be. So I can quickly glance at my percentages and see where am I off. So I don't have to be a finance guru. In fact, like, give me a balance sheet or something that I don't need, and it's Greek, I don't know. But I look at the percentages, And I also know the seasonality of my business, that in Q1, I'm in the red. On paper, it looks like I'm making no money. In Q2, it looks like I'm recovering. And in Q3, I got loads of cash. I got to pay taxes, and I can forecast where I'm going to be end the year at end of September and predict my percentages. But I watch the percentage on the different categories.
If you need those, they're on page 157.
And one thing that I just learned that was super validating is I was told by someone, I don't know who it was, but in the Twin Cities metro, the salary expectation for talent in the Twin Cities is much higher than other areas of the country. And I've always struggled to keep the salaries percentage right for the level of talent that Gary tells us to have. Like, there is such a disconnect between what's in the MRA book and our market. And finally someone commented on it, and I was just like, thank goodness I'm not like, okay, I'm not crazy, I'm not overspending. But if you looked at my P&L, it would look like I'm overspending on salaries for the level of talent.
Is your bookkeeper separate? You got a secret account?
Yeah, so my bookkeeper is separate, and then my accountant is more for my personal, he'll do my business, he'll do my personal, and then our rental properties that we have as well.
How many of those you have?
So my husband manages all of those, and we have 10 doors. We just sold one, and he's looking to do his first 1031 exchange, which I find fascinating. He's looking to do his first 1031 exchange in the hardest buyer's market I've ever seen. So, but it goes back to the saying that you've got to have faith, and he sold it as a seller to capitalize on the market, and he's taking a leap of faith as a buyer that something will come.
Nice. Anything else on the market as far as writing offers? Like, how are you winning? Anything else any other great ideas you have that we can rip off and duplicate?
I would say collaboration is key on what's working. We have a team, so we collaborate a lot with our team. Every Monday we have a team meeting, and it's a topic like what won, what were the terms, where did you lose, why did you lose? But you don't need to be a part of a team to do that. Do that on your Facebook page, do that at your team meetings, and just share, what's working and what's not. Especially now, we're finding some buyers are still in multiple offers and losing, doing 50 grand above asking price with no inspection. And we have other listings where we have to do price adjustments and they got no offers. Like, it's super pockety right now. And us as professionals, we have to connect the dots to make sense out of it. It doesn't quite make sense right now, but we can all come together in the Keller Williams culture and collaborate and share, because that's what our culture is all about. And so we should be doing that in these market conditions for sure.
Thanks. So I mentioned to Shelly, we have a listing contest happening. And so setting your current pipeline aside, because that would be the easy answer. If you were challenged with getting 3 listings by the end of the month, what would you do?
Golden letters, golden text, color your sphere, door knock. I'm sorry. Take off the door knock, because it may be circle prospect / golden letter. That's why we used to circle prospect a ton. And then when we're down in ISA, like I said, we should have 3 ISAs. We only have 1. We swapped out what that ISAs would have been doing in circle prospecting with golden letters, because we just didn't have the time. So circle prospecting or golden letters is the same exact concept. Your circle prospecting script is your golden letter. It's the same thing. I have a buyer who's looking to buy in the area, and what's on the market doesn't meet their needs. Just curious, who do you know in your neighborhood who's just thinking about making a move? I'm just trying to make a match. Key thing is your tone of voice. Helping, like, will you help me? Right? You can't be salesy, but you say, it's almost a little bit like a sound of defeat in the tone of your voice. Like, we're really, really trying to help our buyer, and it's just, we're out of luck. And so we're just trying to network. People call that cold calling, but it's technically networking when you're asking for help, saying, will you help me? I'm trying to help my buyer, and will you help me? The moment you ask another human being to help you, is the moment they show up different on the phone.
Write that down.
So the tone of voice is huge. I coach that into my ISAs all the time. Where I'm like, you don't sound desperate enough. Like you really need to be pleading. Will you please help me? You need to be in character when you deliver your intro, otherwise they'll hang up on you. And you'll still get hung up on. But the people who really want to help and or might know someone will hear it that you're genuine and authentic and really need help in your tone of voice. Yeah, it really is only if they want that.
Did you guys hear that?
Okay, so the question is, the top 2 reasons why you would sell off market versus on market. 99.9% of our listings are going on the market because when we explain to the seller the pros and cons, anyone that is of the mindset, I want top dollar, which is what these market conditions are all about, are naturally going to choose that. But sometimes we'll have a seller that will say, I really can't be hassled or don't want to be hassled, or maybe they're still scared about COVID or have reasons they don't want showings. Well, that's because what their big why is alignment then with that option to go off market. It makes sense for that particular seller. So we do explain both in our listing presentation, especially if we got a seat at the table because of networking from an off-market, angle strategy.
So what are the top things that you say that are the pros to go off market, other than what you just said? Is that really it?
We just really explain the difference. We just say if you're gonna go off market, you're gonna feel it's convenient. You won't feel like you have to have showings. You still need to prep your home for sale because you still want to impress the buyer. But it can be one and done. And we say, however, you likely won't get top dollar because you don't know that buyer number 3 will outbid that buyer. And I just say on the other side, you go on the market and you have the chance of multiple offers in a bidding war. But I know the myth I have to overcome is then why wouldn't I just do it myself and put a sign in the yard? So you always try to anticipate what is your objection going to be, right? What will they catch me on in my presentation? And I have to name it before they name it. Otherwise, I'm debating with them. I can't debate with a seller at their kitchen table. But if I name it before they name it, I'm not debating. They just see me as strategic. So I just say on the flip side, you may be feeling or thinking why, so I name what, why, you're probably wondering, should I just sell it myself? Well, here's what you're going to be missing out on if you sell it yourself. And you may be thinking, well, the whole point of going on this market, I don't want the hassle. I don't want all the showings. And I just say, I promise you that if you give me your home for 48 hours, I will deliver you multiple offers way above asking price. Just take your family to the Dells, go to the cabin, just give me 2 days and I will knock your socks off on price. And that's not inconvenient if it's only 2 days.
So I appreciate that, Shelley, but I just don't know where to go because it's so hard to buy right now.
Yeah. Well, so where are you looking to make a move to?
Woodbury.
Okay. And what's important to you about Woodbury?
Well, my wife's whole family's from there.
Okay. And when you get closer to your wife's whole family, what will that do for you and your family?
More date nights with babysitters.
Fantastic. And so if you stay where you're currently at, what will that do for you?
I mean, it's easy and, comfortable, and I can't imagine having to pay so much over when we buy.
Sure. So are you going to be doing a mortgage or buying with cash?
Mortgage, but we'll put down, the equity from this house.
Okay. And do you think that you're going to get top dollar in this market?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. And so if you get top dollar in this market as a seller and you go to buy as a buyer and you're paying top dollar, isn't that a wash?
I mean, hopefully.
And if we can make it a wash for you, would that be a win-win?
Yeah.
So tell me, what are you doing to find properties right now?
I'm going on Zillow.
Okay. And what are you finding on Zillow?
Just a lot of properties that seem to be way overpriced.
Sure. And have you or anyone you know missed out on any properties?
No, because we're thinking about selling, but it just, I can't imagine writing I'm hearing buyers write like 6 to 8 offers.
Yeah, absolutely. So if everyone's on Zillow and they're waiting for properties to pop, but things are going so quickly, what are you doing to find off-market opportunities?
Talking to you right now, I guess.
Yeah. So do you know what our team does different than everyone else to find off-market opportunities?
I don't. Tell
Okay.
me, I would love to hear that.
Awesome. And then I pivot and schedule a buying consult. Yeah. So you gotta walk them into it. I know my angle because I'm hearing the objections, but I gotta find pain points before I see. It's like you're collecting your cards, right? You don't act on it right away. You just collect your nuggets. What are the pain points? Why does it matter to them? Then I gotta find pain in how they're searching and or their limiting beliefs, because this market is painful. It's painful to be a buyer. So I need to push on that bruise just a little bit to say, hey, looking on Zillow on your own, that was how we bought last year. What are you doing to pivot with this market? And they'll say nothing. Like, what do you mean? I'm just looking on the internet. Say, oh, wow. So you got shocked. Wow, you haven't done anything different with the shift in how buyers are buying? Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry that no one's explained to you that how you buy homes has changed. Can I explain that to you? Or what are you doing then to find different opportunities besides Zillow, because that's what everyone else is looking at. I try to find pain in that role play of missing out. That's usually if someone's going on the internet, they find something they love and it's sold, poof, gone. That's an easy angle to take. Say, well, how people used to shop is the internet. The internet is now old school. You got to get to the home before other people know about it. So how are you getting to the home before other buyers know about it? So you got to make them feel what they're doing is out of date, because it is. Society's trained to get and do anything you want on the internet. And the pandemic has reinforced that. That's not how real estate is successfully sold right now.
So you started helping to so you can leverage your time.
I got to a point where winning the listing was fun, but it lasted for such a short while. And I wanted more, just more fulfillment. I'm a growth-based person that loves to grow. And so when I had built up a really big listing business, I naturally asked myself, well, what's next? Because I'm very growth-minded. And that's where my coaches, I realized like I'm hitting a wall. I need a team, and I have a passion for transforming lives and making really big impacts. That's why I left corporate. And so a team is a natural growth step. I just had to get out of my own way.
And what skill set do you think that you had to develop to get to that next? Like, now you know how to do the listing thing.
Yeah.
So you hit the wall. What was the next set of skills that you need
Yeah.
to put the team in place?
How to bring multiple personalities together, like multiple strengths. So I became a student of leadership. I devoured leadership books. I have 2 going at the same time. I joined as many masterminds as I could on leadership and team building. And I'm strength finder, like learning what are everyone's gifts, and then how do I bring it together and bring out the best in each of them? Because I know what my strengths are and I've leveraged my weaknesses, but how do I do that for a group? Was really, I had to learn that, and I'm still learning it. I'm still on that path.
Well, people just flip on the things that would work.
No, and I still fail forward. That's the thing, people will come up here and speak and they'll talk big numbers and big businesses, and what
Bless you.
I've always gotten out of people who speak is when they share where they failed and where they're scared. Because if, at family reunion and mega camp, if they're just talking about their successes, they're not talking about what gets us all stuck and what got me stuck, which was the fear. And so I had to get over my fear of trusting others with my income, my brand, letting people in. And I had to work through that first. And then the whole fear, well, how do I build a team? What do I do? How do I hire right? I have made a lot of hiring mistakes, and I have failed forward. And I've become a better hirer. I've become better at the career visioning process, but I'm still not perfect. I still make mistakes. And so that's the key thing is anyone, whether you're a brand new agent or whether you're the locum team, to grow, you're always facing fear and discomfort. And one of the biggest mistakes that I made was judging where I was at to someone else's middle or end of their career. Because I'd say, well, I'm not them and they're not me, but they have what I want. And so then I felt like this imposter complex, like, well, I can't do it. They are confident and they're on stage and they're confident and they're knocking it out of the park. And they're making it sound so simple, but I'm not that confident. Well, it's just they were further down the path than I was. And I was comparing where I was at to where they were at and not recognizing that we're in different spots, but we are all facing our fear, facing discomfort, and just taking it one step at a time to get 1% better and, ask for help and get coaching. That's all it is.
So as we wrap, we're gonna take Kim's question, and then I have two just quick wrap-up questions, and then we're gonna wrap out of respect for everyone's time. Go ahead.
So knowing what you know about yourself today, do you feel like you're going to be fulfilled in this role that you're in right now or seeing in real estate? And you feel like you'll be able to grow enough and get enough out of it to be fulfilled?
Yeah, I do. So it's so important to have a vision for me. If you're growth-based and growth-minded, what's next? And so I look to the Reynolds teams. I look to the Lance Lokins. We flew our team down to Lance Lokin in 2019. And so I just look for people to model the path, but not compare myself. That's where huge mistakes, because I get stuck and I'd freeze the moment I compared. But I just tried to look for the breadcrumbs on the path that I could implement today, knowing that if I just faithfully did that, I'd get there. And so I'm inspired by those big teams that are creating huge impact for their team members. They're going into joint ventures with their team members. I love that. Like, it's not just then be a teammate on my team, but let's go buy rental properties together. Let's build businesses together. Some teams are starting up nonprofits together. And the fact that I can create that opportunity for my team members, that's like what my sites are now set up.
Is last question before one final thought. Anything we didn't ask you that we should, or do you have any final thoughts and or advice for the group? Goodness.
I would say don't underestimate that triangle in the MREA, the leads, listings, leverage. That's what I did. I brought it back to that on March 16th, 2020, when Gary was talking to us and then everyone went home to work virtually. And I said to my team, I want you to all visualize that you are on a floaty in a pool. And we're all going to be together having this pool party. But we're on a floaty that's in the shape of a triangle. And in each corner, it's leads, listings, leverage. We got to keep the floaty floating. And it's going to require leads, it's going to require listings, and it's going to require leverage. The moment one corner goes down, we sink. Because I was facing the pandemic and I had no clue. I was like, oh my gosh, is my team going to implode and we're going to go out of business? And so I just went back to the basics and I said, keep the floaty floating. And it's all about envision you're in that triangle, leads, listings, leverage. Still to this day, I'm looking at our 10-year vision and know, okay, well, what numbers do we have to hit this year to be on track? It all goes back to, we got to build our database. We don't have enough leads in our database. Well, I got to get leads in the database. Okay, how do we do that? Well, make sure it's a listing-based marketing message. Awesome. So when we do that, now I've earned the right to hire another ISA or another buyer's agent, leverage. Well, I got to create opportunity for them. Goes back to leads. I got to add more leads in my database, right? I listen to some of these teams that have 25,000 names in their database, and we have 5,000. And how do they do that, right? We're not there. So the message in my head is the same message that everyone has. I'm no different than you. I'm just further along on the path, and it's all about leads, listings, leverage, repeat. You just walk up the ladder.
Awesome. So if we have referrals in Wisconsin, or we don't want to drive to Stillwater, Afton, Woodbury, how do we send you business?
Yes, we would be honored to partner with you guys. So our website is holtzgroup.com, no T, HOLZ group.com. And we're info@holtzgroup.com. We'd be honored to just create a first-class experience with your clients to make it a really good partnership.
Nice. How do we do today?
Phenomenal.
Awesome. If you like today, mark your calendar, July 15th, in person. We will be here and we're gonna have another great guest. Thank you, Shelly.
Thank you.
Thank you all for coming, and we'll catch you next time.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.